Okay, so today let's talk about streams of cash flows. Most investment opportunities have certain cash flows at different time periods. For instance, as we can see on this timeline, we start at period 0 with cash flow 0. So the cash flow in year 0, and then we go on to the other periods, 1 to up to n amount of periods, so however many there are, and then however many cash flows there are. Okay, so C1 would be the cash flow in year 1, C2 cash flow in year 2, etc. Now, in order to value a stream of cash flows, which means to find out the present value, so how much are all these cash flows worth today, there's a formula. And the formula is the following. So in order to find out the present value, so how much money in 5 years' time is worth today, for instance, we need to discount certain cash flows by their interest rates. So cash flow 0, we don't discount, right? Because we haven't started earning any interest. However, from period 1, we discount to 1 plus R, so R being the interest rate. In period 2, notice we discount to 1 plus R, but we need to square it, and etc. Okay? So we put it to the power of n amount of periods, and there's n amount of cash flows. Here's the formula for the present value of cash flow stream. Okay? So the present value is equal to the sum of the cash flows over 1 plus the interest rate to the power of n amount of periods. And then here we have the future value of a cash flow stream. So how much, is going to be worth a certain amount of money in n years' time. Okay? Right, so remember these two formulas. Let's look at this exercise. Exercise 12 says you've just received a windfall from an investment you've made in a friend's business. He will be paying you $46,819 at the end of this year, $93,638 at the end of the following year, and $140,457 at the end of the year after that. So 3 years from today, okay? And then they say the interest rate is 13.8% per year. Part A, what's the present value of your windfall? Now, just in case you don't know, a windfall is an unexpected or sudden, usually large and profitable amount of money, okay, such as a prize or lottery winnings. It can also be a profit in excess of what was expected. Okay. So let's do part A. So what's the present value of your windfall? Right, so here we know we're going to have to use the formula for the present value. Now first, let's draw a timeline. Right, so we know there's 3 years, okay? And then it says he will be paying you this amount of money at the end of this year, right? So this means that this will be period 1 because it's at the end of the year, okay? If it said he will be paying you this amount of money today, then that would be period 0. But because it says at the end of this year, this means it's period 1. Right, then it says 93,000 at the end of the following year, so period 2. And then 140,000 at the end of the year after that, so 3 years from today, period 3. And the cash flow, so C1 is equal to 46,819. C2 is 93,638. And C3 is 140,457. Excellent. Now let's use the formula for the present value. Right, so we said the present value is equal to the sum of the cash flows discounted. So first, C1, so 46,819 discounted by 1 plus R. So we know that R is in decimal places, 0.138. and this is to the power of the period, which in this case is 1, so to the power of 1. Plus, let's look at the second period, 93,638 over 1 plus the interest rate, discounted to the period, which in this case is 2. And finally, the last period, so period 3, discounted by the interest rate to the power of 3. Excellent. Now, if you plug this into the calculator, you should get that the present value is equal to 208,751.56. What this result means is that the stream of cash flows from the investment you made today is worth this amount of money, 208,000. Okay? Right, excellent. Now let's look at part B now. Part B says, what's the future value? So in this case, we know we're going to have to use the formula for the future value. Now I'll write down the result here. The present value is 208,751.56 because we're going to need it for part B. So part B, we need to calculate the future value. So how much the windfall today is worth in 3 years' time. So we said the future value, if we look back at the formula, is equal to the present value times the interest rate to the power of n periods of time. So the future value is equal to the present value, so 208,751.56 times 1 plus the interest rate, which we said is 0.138 in decimal places, to the power of the period. Now, because in this case we want to find out the future value in 3 years' time, then we know that the n is 3. Okay, and then we just need to solve this. And if we plug this into the calculator, we should get that the future value of the windfall is 307,648.9 approx. So this would be the future value of the windfall.